Link TV, connecting you to the world. Link TV is viewer supported. Watch more at linktv.org.
Link TV presents Mosaic World News from the Middle East. Here are today's top stories.
Over 1 million Egyptians answer protest call as food prices skyrocket. And the Egyptian army warns civilians against wearing uniform. Mosaic. World news from the Middle East begins now.
Earlier
today, President Mubarak's new Vice President Omar Suleiman said he was designated to dialogue with the political parties in order to find a way for constitutional and legislative reforms. The Egyptian army announced yesterday that it is aware of the protesters' legitimate demands and that they had no intention of using force against them.
هي وقفة يمكن وصفها بالتاريخية والحاسمة.
This is a historic and crucial moment. This is the march of millions in Tahrir Square as Egyptian nationalists call to protest President Mubarak's regime. It seems protesters are challenging the regime to a decisive battle that will perhaps determine the result of these mass demonstrations against Mubarak and his regime that have lasted for over a week. The preparations for the March of Millions were not hindered by the regime's order to block the roads connecting Cairo and other provinces, or the shutdown of train services throughout Egypt. Demonstration leaders managed to gather 1 million protesters in Tahrir Square, in addition to parallel protests in a majority of provinces. This is putting tremendous pressure on the regime. Protests continued day and night, and the protesters appeared even more determined to challenge the regime. Many believe that the regime has been shaken. Even some conservative observers say that Mubarak is not capable of staying in power and that he has lost his last battle. Some reports say the ruling National Party has organised counter-protests. Other reports say that some supporters of the regime intend to sabotage the March of Millions. Protesters seem prepared for all possibilities.
The number of people is increasing. Tomorrow there will be many more people. I believe this is the Egyptian people rejecting the Mubarak regime's attempt to continue its superficial changes, such as reshuffling the government, which is collapsing in front of the people.
The army, which plays a major role on the ground, has stated clearly that it will not take sides in this fight. The army has taken this position since it was deployed in the streets to provide security amid the protests.
Your armed forces have not and will not resort to using force against this great nation.
So
the military is taking a neutral stance. Some described such neutrality as blatantly abandoning Mubarak and his regime. Even those who supported him several hours ago have come to denounce him.
This regime, President Mubarak's regime, is truly finished. The cabinet reshuffle came far too late. There was nothing but very few superficial signs in the legislation showing this was Egypt's mandate, not Hosni Mubarak's mandate.
Opinions started to vary after the regime moved towards holding talks with the opposition.
كلفني السيد الرئيس اليوم بإجراء الاتصالات على الفور بجميع القوى السياسية.
The President appointed me today to immediately contact all political parties in order to begin a dialogue on all the issues raised regarding constitutional and legislative reform, so that we can find a path for the proposed amendments and decide on the time to implement them.
للتعديلات المقترحة والتوقيتات المحددة لتنفيذها.
The Egyptian public is responding to what has been said to them and about them inside and outside Egypt.
I send a message on behalf of all Egyptians. We will never leave Tahrir Square as long as this corrupt regime remains. It has humiliated the Egyptian people and humiliated Arab people as a whole.
Egypt is for the Egyptian youth. Egypt is for us, not for the regime or a party or the Brotherhood. Egypt is for Egyptian young people. I want to send a message to the regime. Your days here are over.
We, the Egyptian people, are determined. Every Egyptian deserves much better than this. The regime must fail. All Egyptians around the world say tyrant Hosni Mubarak must fall.
Enough humiliation of the Egyptian people, enough humiliation for the name Egypt. The name Egypt is bigger than the name Hosni Mubarak and bigger than the name of any regime. Our duty is to keep the name of Egypt.
For 30 years we have been exploited, and for 30 years they've been stealing from us. I implore the people of Egypt to continue the protests in all Egyptian cities, and I implore you to head to the President's palace now to bring this regime down.
Hosni Mubarak has started his statement to the people. Let's listen into what he has to say.
I call on the Parliament to be committed to the judiciary and to the decisions taken by the judiciary regarding the complaints made in regarding the former elections. I will continue with my efforts and I will answer to the demands of the people. I will do my best to answer the demands of the people. The performance of the government must answer to the demands of the people regarding the constitutional reforms, the social reforms, political reforms, and also to create new jobs and to combat poverty and to achieve social justice. And in the same perspective, I call on the police to play their role and to serve the people and to protect the Egyptian citizen in an honest way, in an honorable way, and also to totally respect the rights of the Egyptian citizens and to respect their freedom and dignity. I also call on the authorities and on the judicial authorities as well to immediately take any measures which are required in order to continue hunting down the corrupt figures and to investigate those who are behind the security chaos, the instability, to investigate with those who are behind the fires and the looting and the terrorizing of citizens. This is my pledge to the Egyptian people during the next few months of my presidential term. I pray to God that I am successful, that I be successful in fulfilling this pledge and in giving Egypt more and more in a way which satisfies the nation and its people. My honorable citizens, my fellow citizens, Egypt will be able to come out of this current crisis stronger than it was before. More confidence and with more cohesion and with more stability. Our people will come out of this crisis and they will be more vigilant of their interests and more intent on not surrendering their future and their fate. Hosni Mubarak, who is speaking to you right now, today, is proud of the years he has spent, of the long years he has spent in serving Egypt and in serving its people. This beloved country, this beloved nation is my nation, just as it is the nation of every Egyptian man and woman. I lived in this country, I fought for this country, I defended the territory of this country, I defended its sovereignty and its interests, and I will die in Egypt, and history will judge me and will judge others. The nation will stay, the nation will remain, people will go away, but the nation will come, will continue, and Egypt will always live because of the strength and the muscle of its citizens. And we must guarantee that this will happen in an honorable way. Generation after generation must work on this. May God preserve this country and its people, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Egyptian armed forces warned all civilians not to wear a military uniform, confirming that anyone who disobeys these instructions will be immediately arrested. In the armed forces' fifth statement issued by the Ministry of Defense's official spokesman, the ministry thanked all citizens and the conscientious youth of Egypt for their cooperation.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم في إطار تنفيذ القوات المسلحة لمهامها في الحفاظ على أمن وسلام.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, in order for the armed forces to continue to maintain the security and safety of the nation and its citizens, the armed forces would like to thank and show our gratitude to all our honourable citizens and Egypt's conscientious youth.
تعاونهم مع قواتهم المسلحة لتأمين الممتلكات العامة والخاصة.
We thank them for their cooperation with the armed forces to safeguard public and private property. We remind our Egyptian citizens of the importance of peacefully expressing their opinions and not listening to rumours or destructive ideas.
ونحذر الأفراد الخارجين عن القانون من الإضرار بمصالح الوطن.
We warn outlaws not to harm the interests of our nation and citizens. We also forbid non-military personnel from wearing the military uniform under any circumstances. Anyone who disobeys these instructions will be immediately arrested and subject to military law.
قانون الأحكام العسكرية عليهم والله ولي التوفيق.
أصدر وزير الداخلية السيد محمود وجدي قراراً بتعديل شعار الشرطة إلى الشرطة في خدمة.
Interior Minister Mahmoud Wagdi announced a new police motto, the police in the service of the people. This comes after the Interior Minister visited the police station in Nawza and Masr al-Jadida, where he monitored their work. He also reminded police officers how important it was for them to fulfill their role in re-establishing security and stability on the streets of Cairo. In addition, the Interior Minister visited some neighborhood in Masr al-Jadida, where he met young people working around the clock to protect private and public property. The visit is an attempt to raise national awareness of the important role young people play in keeping their country safe.
Iran
is honoring the anniversary of the leader of the Islamic Revolution's return from exile, Imam Khomeini, amid analysis comparing aspects of the deposed Shah's reign to President Hosni Mubarak's regime.
How similar today is to yesterday. The same fate circulates among the tyrants in this region. Today, Iran is commemorating the anniversary of the Islamic Revolution leader Imam Khomeini's return to his country from exile in Paris. Many people believe that this revolution inspired the people of this region to liberate themselves from tyranny.
We should compare the Shah to Mubarak. Mubarak did not allow the Egyptian people to help the people in Gaza. The Shah was an ally to Israel and an authoritarian regime. So both regimes will be forgotten by history.
وإذا كان سلوك الشعوب في التعبير عن رفض الاستبداد والدكتاتورية يكرر.
If the people are repeating Iran's movement to reject tyranny and dictatorship, then the Egyptian regime's leadership is making the same moves as the Shah did before. Shapur Bakhtiar was appointed prime minister in the last days of the Shah's dictatorship. Today, Omar Suleiman and Ahmad Shafiq are in the same position. Will this historical triumph over tyrants repeat itself? Floundering in the White House, then-President Jimmy Carter caved at the departure of his closest ally and police in the region, Shah Mohammad Reza, unable to save him from the Iranian people's anger. Today, the man in the same position is talking about caving before the departure of another ally to Washington, President Hosni Mubarak. The U.S. administration cannot save the situation.
حسني مبارك فتحركات الإدارة الأمريكية لا تستطيع إنقاذ الوضع.
The United States has provided full political and financial support to the dictators and backward regimes in the region. But today, the U.S. and its allies will be held accountable. The U.S. has contradicted itself during the events in Egypt and Tunisia, showing its resolution to exacerbate the crisis. On one hand, it shows support for the change the Egyptian people demand, but on the other hand, it's trying to maintain the same regime through holding talks with the kings in the region.
مع ملوك المنطقة. قد تختلف أسباب وجذور الثورات ونتائجها.
The reasons revolutions erupt may vary, and so may their results, but all revolutions share one common aspect, the people's anger. This anger exploded among the Iranian people after 4 decades of the Shah's reign. Today, it's exploding in Egypt after 3 decades of Mubarak's era. An Iranian proverb says, "A situation might improve or regress, but change is certain."
International Monetary Fund Managing Director Dominique Strauss-Kahn said he does not expect the unrest in Egypt will have international ramifications, with the exception of the effects on the oil market. Strauss-Kahn pledged the IMF's support to help rebuild Egypt's economy.
بعد أسبوع من الحراك الشعبي والسياسي بات المصريون ينتظرون ساعات تجوال
A week after political and popular mobilization began in Egypt, Egyptians wait each day for the 7 hours when they are allowed to secure their daily essential needs and stock up on food items. Amidst the ongoing crisis, it is becoming harder to secure the necessities of daily life. Services are disrupted, banks are closed, and liquid assets are scarce. Supply is falling as demand and inflation increase. Some of the gas stations in the Egyptian capital are running low on fuel. Our correspondent, Rasha Abdul Rahman, reports from Cairo.
The Egyptian public is taking precautions. Crowds of people are lining up in front of grocery stores, especially since the presence of the army everywhere has made the situation more secure. In addition, the police have returned. Securing food has always been a challenge for Egyptians, but it has become more difficult amid the current situation.
The price of produce was raised by 3 to 4 Egyptian pounds. The price of rice and macaroni went up. There's no bread and there's no money. I can't afford to feed my children. We don't have anything. What is the point of this? I just want to know what the result is.
All bakeries are closed. Crowds of people are waiting in lines to buy bread. This is not acceptable.
There are no products. A small loaf of bread is selling for 50 cents or even £1. The baker doesn't have any flour to make bread. There's nothing left in the stores. No one is checking on us. Not one representative has come to visit us. This is why some merchants are taking advantage of the situation.
Consumer demand for other basic products also increased, as people fear they will be sold out or their prices will rise. The lines were long at gas stations that appeared for the first time in days. The situation is not any better there. In fact, we were told that due to excessive demand, the reserves were about to run out.
There is increasing demand for everything because people don't know if the crisis will continue or not. That's why people are stocking up on food and other basic materials that can last them at least several days.
However, this is not the situation in most places in Egypt. The phrase heard everywhere is, "We don't have it," or "It's sold out." The lines are extremely long for those waiting to buy everything: bread, flour, and other basic daily supplies. People on the streets say they don't know how long this situation will last.
The
fourth plane transporting Lebanese citizens from Cairo arrived in Beirut this evening. They are fleeing the political and security tension in Egypt. On the other hand, a number of Egyptians residing in Lebanon long to return to Egypt. Karine Tarabai reports from Beirut.
This is their return to reality, but it comes with great relief. They are among the nearly 30,000 Lebanese residing in Egypt, and the recent events have forced them to return to Lebanon. Suddenly it got extremely chaotic. No more rule of law, no more prisons. There was no more fuel when we returned this morning, no food. It was chaos.
It is a disaster. There is no government, nothing. There's no food. Supermarkets are closed. In 2 days there will be no more fuel. We will miss Mubarak's days.
Those returning experienced the events in Egypt as mere observers.
I was scared because I never imagined that gangs would attack houses. We're fine with demonstrations, but suddenly, in just one night, Cairo burned. There were lots of gangs, and there was no one, no police, no army, nothing. We had to protect ourselves.
No, the situation is not very bad. This is not the way the media is reporting, but yes, there's fear.
Lebanese returning from Egypt came in waves when the Lebanese embassy in Cairo set up a hotline to facilitate the return of Lebanese citizens. In contrast to those Lebanese who did the impossible, to leave Egypt and return to their country, Egyptians living in Lebanon tell a different story. They wish they were in their country today. A large number of Egyptians in Lebanon are laborers. Their presence outside their country does not imply they are missing out on the most important political event in their lifetime.
I haven't slept or eaten in 3 days. I've been watching TV and crying. One takes pride in their country, and then they see everything nice about it, the pyramids getting destroyed, burning. The country is burning. It took us back 50 years to when the king was toppled.
Their feelings are mixed between waiting for a long-awaited change and fearing for hard-to-reach family members, in addition to their heartbreak for not being able to participate in a defining moment in their country's history.
Of course I would have taken part in the demonstrations. I am sad that I'm not in Egypt right now. I'm sad, but at the same time, happy that demonstrations could lead to the toppling of Mubarak's regime. He's trying to find a way out of the crisis. All Egyptians in Lebanon exhibit the same enthusiasm when commenting on the events taking place in their country, even if many of them refuse to comment on screen, probably because those abroad have to plan for their return home.
Joining us now in the studio to discuss developments in Egypt is veteran diplomat and Israel's first envoy to the Arab Republic, Ambassador Tzvi Mazel. Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
Now, we spoke, of course, just days after the eruption of this violence. Tell me, is the unfolding of events the way that you envisioned?
Well, I am not in charge of the scenario of the revolution. Absolutely, yeah. The problem is now that the revolution has already occurred. Everybody understands what happens. Everybody understands what the protesters want from Mubarak. They would like him to go away. But the most important, I think, for me, as I see what's going on, is not his departure. The problem is whether we can go from this to a real democracy. A real democracy means dissolving the parliament, new election for the parliament, new election for the president, abolishment of the emergency law. These are the main problems. But we are now stuck in a certain way because the protesters have no leadership, real leadership. They can channel, that will be able to channel the revolution to the right place. But as from now, it might go astray, either to a chaos or maybe to the Muslim Brothers. And Muslim Brothers are working on it very, very hard.
There have been unconfirmed reports of 300 fatalities so far. Do you believe that the Egyptian security forces have properly handled the demonstrations?
It's very difficult to understand, and even I'm not sure about these numbers. But at the beginning, there was a lot of violence, absolutely, and the Egyptian police is not known for its pittiness, I mean, for its, you know, we don't know. Till now, they've admitted about 140, 130. Some other sources say 300. But it was to be expected that many people will die. And then they have not stopped it, and it's going on. But this is not a story. Many people were killed. Okay, it's terrible, absolutely. But the revolution is going on. We don't know where it does go. This is the main problem. I mean,
now, you've served as Israel's ambassador to Egypt twice, in fact. You were the first ambassador there, and you well know that while Egypt has maintained, or Mubarak has maintained, a cold peace with Israel, he has in recent years received praise from Israeli leaders. How concerned are you in the aftermath of what's ever going on now about how this will affect the bilateral relationship between the two nations?
It's a big question. As everybody sees, we are very worried about it because once Egypt is out of stability, everything might happen. So we are following very closely, but we cannot intervene. It's not our business. It's the business of the Egyptian people. Still, I think we are afraid of that the revolution will be taken over by the Muslim Brothers. And what we are seeing now, that the revolution, because of the lack of leadership, is being led by Al Jazeera. And Al Jazeera is under the influence of Muslim Brothers. Everybody should know about it. Al Jazeera is not journalism. Al Jazeera is kind of a weapon, a murderous weapon. It's very, very complicated. Now, Al Jazeera put four screens in the square, Tahrir square,
right.
and they are transmitting the messages to the protesters. So it's a big problem. So on one side you have the Al Jazeera, no leadership, and from the other side you have the Muslim Brothers in Egypt trying to penetrate it. You see? So we don't know what's happened, and I think we are right to be very, very worried. Still, we cannot do nothing, but we think that at the end, the government that will be formed will renew contact with Israel and America, because the revolution is not being done against Israel. It's being done to better the situation of the Egyptians. So why go against Israel and put money into the army? So there are problems, but we are optimistic.
The views expressed on Mosaic are from contributing broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible by grants from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, the Firedoll Foundation, and by support of viewers like you. Thank you. Watch Mosaic World News online. Stay up to date with breaking news, read our blog, get transcripts of past shows, and more at linktv.org/mosaic.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.